Company, by files, right, march. Company, halt, front. Okay, we're going to show a couple final maneuvers. Guard against infantry. Guard. Ha! Shoulder, arm. Quarter, arm. Unfix, bayonet. Fix, bayonets. The problem you have when you do multiple timelines of different weapons. Stack, arm.
Oh.
Company. To the rear, one pace, march.
Big guns, field pieces used during the American Civil War and here in New Johnsonville. If you begin on the end, closest to us, that black weapon made out of cast iron, that's called a 10-pound Parrott weapon. Developed, designed by a guy named Robert Parker Parrott, who worked for the United States Ordnance Department. These guns were very cheap to produce. They were very easy to produce, and they become the most commonly made big gun during the American Civil War. The problem with them is, and by the way, they fire rifled projectiles, no more cannonballs. They're firing pointed projectiles. And these things have a much greater velocity, a much greater speed, and can fly a lot farther and be a lot more accurate than firing the big old cannonballs from the beginning of the war. The problem, though, with these Parrott rifles, even though they are accurate and very, and many were produced, is that cast iron is very brittle. It's strong, sure, but it can develop cracks over time and fissures inside the metal. And what happens then when you're firing big, large black powder charges out of these things? Well, they have a tendency to burst. And then that's bad for those four guys right there. That's why you see an extra band of cast iron around the back or the breech of the weapon. That was done on purpose. When your gun is fired, that area is going to take the most energy from that gunpowder blowing up. So you want extra metal there to protect your guys. So, and it did. And again, these do become very popular guns. They're very cheap and easy to produce. The next gun down the line, the bright, shiny brass weapon, that is a 6-pounder field piece. These guns are obsolete by the Civil War. Yet, especially at the beginning of the war, they're the most common guns used. These things were developed in 1841, before the Mexican War, and they were the most commonly used guns in the Mexican War. So why are they used during the Civil War? Because they have to. They didn't have enough weapons to go around for everybody, so these old guns are put back into service. Whereas the Parrott rifle has a maximum range effective of 1,850 yards. These poor old 6-pounder field pieces only have a maximum effective range of 1,200 to 1,400 yards. And they are still firing the big old cannonballs, so they are not as accurate. But the thing with bronze is, and all bronze is, it's a copper and tin combination, War, and they are also firing a pointed projectile. And believe it or not, they can fire a target 2,000 yards away and hit it. Very good weapon. They also have something for very close combat. It is called canister. This is a tin can filled with small lead or iron balls. 70 lead balls or iron balls are inside this piece of tin. Anybody ever go hunting with a shotgun? This turns your cannon into a big shotgun. It is for anti-infantry, anti-personnel. If that enemy infantry is within 300 yards of your artillery piece, how do you defend yourself? Canister. It is very nasty stuff and could cut swaths into infantry regiments attacking artillery batteries. These ordnance pieces, these 3-inch ordnance rifles, also iron, become very popular. And you would have seen the Parrott rifles and ordnance rifles in all of the batteries around Johnsonville. Now, one thing I want to let you know about the gunner, the crew, the cannoneers. A well-trained crew, a veteran crew during the American Civil War could load, aim, and fire one of these weapons on target 3 times a minute. However, if you saw them firing 3 times a minute, something has gone wrong. Here's the reason. This is called a limit. This is your ammunition chest. There is only a finite amount of ammunition you can fit in here. For our gun, we can only put 50 rounds of ammunition in that chest. So after 50 rounds, you got to get more ammo. You are done for a little bit. So would you see these guns firing 3 times a minute? Usually not. That is why they don't work by themselves. You have guns that work with other guns. That is called a battery. And all of battery means in Webster's dictionary, a battery is a group of guns working together. So you do not have to fire 3 times a minute because you got your buddies next to you also firing. That is rapid fire during the American